Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle for Expat Life Mexico, formerly Afro Expats. Today, I have the pleasure again of speaking to Modja. He and I had a conversation when I first started this channel a couple years, it's been like 2 years ago.
Yeah, around that.
Yeah, and I don't remember how we met, but I think you found me and wrote me a message. So he's super interesting. He's from the Congo. He is a polyglot, correct?
Yes.
And he speaks 8 languages. My brain can't even fathom that. But anyway, he is a coach for languages, and we decided we would do another call. Here we are with more subscribers, and we wanted to kind of share like a little bit about his program and his coaching and how he can help a lot of the people that come to my channel, because most are interested in moving to Mexico, which is where I live in San Miguel de Allende. And I really love his technique. I remember the last conversation we had, just kind of one of the things that stuck with me, I think the most, was you saying, make sure you practice with a native speaker and have them correct you if you say things incorrectly, not just let you slide through it. And I thought that that was super effective, because I think a lot of times for someone like myself, I have a tendency to just tumble into the language. And if you start saying it wrong, it's always going to be wrong, or it'll be wrong unless someone corrects you. So I thought that that was super effective, even if you're talking to your friends or, native Spanish speakers in your country, to just say, hey, if I'm practicing and saying things, to really give you the correct way to say it in a sentence, but also how to pronounce things. So his program, I think, is super effective. I know you were contacted by several people the last time. So if you all are looking for someone to teach you, he's going to tell you a little bit about his background, a little bit about his history. You can also click on the link in the description box that will bring you to our last video, which was a super long conversation. And
it was a lot of fun.
A lot of information. Yeah, but also a lot of information. And I just think, he's really interesting. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself and a little bit about where you're from, and also a little your history of how you even got into all the languages in the first place. I thought that was also very interesting. So if you haven't, wait, one more thing. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, hit a like if you like the content, support my channel. I appreciate you all being here. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks a lot, Michelle. So my name is Modja. So my full name is Christian Modjaiso, but Modjaiso is my nickname is Modja. So I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So I didn't really grow up here necessarily. So I was born in Congo, but lived in various countries: Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, and then I did my bachelor's degree in math in the US. And then after college is when I came back to Congo. And so I mean, part of being in Africa is that it kind of forces you to learn many languages.
Mm.
So it's very rare to find somebody in Africa who speaks only one language, because most people speak their own local language and they have to speak one European language that's used in school. So in Congo, everybody speaks their own local language and they speak French. If you go to Kenya, they'll speak Swahili and they'll speak English, and typically they speak their local language, Jaluo, Kikuyu, something like this.
Okay.
So I started out with a few languages already, but then obviously I got interested as I went by. So I'm from Congo, but I grew up in an English-speaking country, so I couldn't speak French, which is a problem because in Congo we speak French. Right? That's the official language here. So one of the fascinations was to learn how to speak French. Eventually, I did learn how to speak French. And then I took on more languages. I took on Spanish in college, which was a lot of fun. So it was fun because I could talk with, like at my university in California, Pitzer College, almost all the workers were Hispanic. So all the cleaners, all the cooks, all the workers, almost everything were from Hispanic countries. So it was really cool to learn Spanish and be able to talk to them. So that was a lot of fun. Nice. And my host family were Hispanic too. Some ladies from Argentina. So I benefited from them helping me with Spanish as well. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I just picked up more as I went on. Yeah.
So when you went to the host family, was the intention for you to have kind of like a Spanish immersion, or was like, what was that?
No, we just met by almost by accident. It was
Mm,
at the end of the semester, the fall semester. So I had to find a place to stay.
mhm,
So what I decided to do was to just rent an apartment in somebody's house.
mhm.
And it happened to be these two ladies, and we became really close for like I spent pretty much, they hosted me for the rest of my college time, around 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
And when I was with them, I learned about their story, and then I wanted to learn Spanish as well. So
Mhm.
back then in college, I was struggling with self-confidence, feeling like I didn't belong. And I felt kind of like I was dumb or foolish. There's a feeling, which is of course wrong, but I felt that way.
Mhm.
And so I needed something to make me feel smart and capable. So I said, what can I do to really boost my confidence? Like, how about becoming fluent in Spanish in 3 months? I mean, if I
Right.
did that, that would really help with confidence.
Mhm.
And so I took on the challenge and I was able to do it. Right. So it was really amazing to go from not being able to say anything, turning on the news and not understanding anything at all. And three
Mhm.
months later, can listen to the news, can have a conversation. I actually
Mhm.
taught a physics class in Spanish after 3 months. So,
Wow. Wow. That's very interesting that you felt inadequate somehow and pushed yourself into learning a language, because a lot of people would just give it up, right? So I think
take
that's very
drugs.
well, I don't know about all that, but okay. Uh, no, but that's really interesting. I think it was probably that you probably had more of a need to be challenged than, feeling dumb. It was just sort of like, okay, I want to fit in and or, kind of maybe prove myself somehow to whomever. But that's really interesting that you were able to teach physics in Spanish. So, what are the key things? Well, tell us a little bit about your program, and then we can talk a little bit about kind of the key things that you recommend that people should focus on if they're trying to learn the language.
All right. So yeah, I'll have an opportunity for people to chat with me towards the end.
Hmm.
But so it will be like just a chat about the future in Spanish and
Hmm.
how they can improve quickly.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do have a coaching program, and basically I take people within a period of 6 months to a year
Hmm.
from not knowing the language to becoming fluent.
Hmm.
So yeah, people come to me with basically they can't understand anything. They turn on the news, they don't understand what's going on.
Hmm.
They can't say a single thing. And
Hmm.
within 3 to 4 months, they're able to speak. They're definitely able to understand the news and all that stuff. Everything
Okay.
that I was able to do was the result of correct principles. It's not
Right.
really something special about me. It's just there's certain principles. So sometimes people could have spent 5 or 6 years trying to learn Spanish with no results.
Okay.
And they think that, oh, the reason they're not learning is because their brain is just low, they're too old, or they have a terrible memory. Lots of reasons people give. But typically I help them to realize your main problem is just that you're not applying correct principles.
Hmm.
They're principles of language learning, just like the
Hmm.
principles of baking cake. You
Hmm.
follow the principles, you get a cake. You disobey the principles, no matter how smart you are, you don't get a cake. The
Right.
same with language learning.
That
So I
makes
teach
sense.
them specific principles, and then they start to see results happening really fast. It's
Hmm.
actually very easy for an adult to learn a language, especially Spanish if you're an English speaker,
Hmm.
because you already have a lot of vocabulary down. Think about
That's
it.
true.
Every word that ends with ION in English is also a Spanish word. So you know
Right.
thousands of words already.
Right.
And then the other important thing we work on is the mentality.
Hmm.
So success in language learning, as with everything else, is 90% mentality and
Hmm.
10% technique. When I say
Hmm.
technique, I mean learning grammar, learning how to speak, learning how to listen. Most people think that's 90% of what determines result. That's not true. The
Hmm.
most important thing is your mentality, your confidence, especially your belief that you can do it.
Right.
Right? So I do have techniques to get somebody who doesn't believe, and within a short time to get them to believe they can do it and to see that it's only a matter of time.
Okay.
Without that confidence, it's impossible, right?
Hmm.
So
So what does like a coaching kind of like program look with one of, your for one of your clients when you say 6 months, but then you have like three, in 3 months, they're kind of almost fluent. What does a week program look like with you? Is it they apply principles, you talk to them, like what, just to give an overview so people would know what to expect if they signed up.
Yeah. So first of all, the first thing we do is we work on their goals. That's the most important thing. And what I get them to do is to really dream. So most people come to me and they say, well, I want to get by in Spanish, or, I'll be okay with just communicating a little bit. And that's because of lack of self-confidence. So the first thing we do is we set a goal, an ambitious goal, right? So I get them to really think about what they want to achieve. I'm speaking fluently, I can understand the news. I go to a Mexican restaurant and I can understand the menu, which is in Spanish, and talk to the waiters and so on. So I get them to really connect with the goal, which is very important. And then I divide the practice into two parts. So mentality and technique. So I give them specific exercises, which they're supposed to do to help them develop the proper mentality, to develop the belief that they can do it, because that's the most important part. And then with technique, we split it up. So we start out gently, because usually when people come, they're full of self-doubt, and maybe the work ethic might not be there as well. That happens too. So the work ethic can also be built. So typically I'll start very gently with them, giving them simpler exercises with the language, and then they go on progressing over time, right? So the majority of the time is spent, because the two main skills that people want to learn are speaking and listening. The majority of people don't really care about writing, because they're not going to write that much. And actually, if you're an English speaker, it's easy to write Spanish and write and read Spanish if you can understand the language already, because the sounds are very similar. Right. So we work a lot on speaking and listening. So I take them progressively through listening. We start with simple material, and within a short period of time, they can understand pretty much everything that's being said. Right. Okay. And then I get them working, of course, with a native speaker to improve like their speaking skill.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so we know you speak Spanish, but what are the other languages that you?
Okay, so I'll start with the African ones, right? So I speak Lingala, Kiswahili, Luganda. Luganda is spoken in Uganda. Lingala is our Congolese language. And Swahili is spoken in many African countries, Congo, Kenya, Burundi, I think, Rwanda a little bit. It's spoken all over the place. Tanzania, of course, right? And then with European languages, I have English, I have French, speak French. I speak Spanish, and I added German. After our interview, after we did the interview, I learned German as well.
How comfortable are you with German?
I've been very comfortable. 7 months. I was able to. It took me about 7 months to learn how to speak it fluently.
Wow.
Give interviews and talk and so on. But I haven't spoken German in a while. Ich habe ein bisschen vergessen, aber ich kann nicht sprechen.
Wow. That's amazing. So did you apply the same, I'm assuming you applied the same principles when you were learning German? Did you like have I don't know, not just the principles, but you had like German speakers that you were practicing with to get it right?
Yes, I applied similar principles, and learning German pushed me to understand language learning deeper. Because when I was learning, okay, so there are certain things that came easier to me when I was learning Spanish. For example, listening comprehension came easy to me when I was learning Spanish. But in German, it was the opposite. So, because usually my normal time frame is 3 to 4 months, right, to become fluent in the language. But with German, it took 7.
Okay.
Right? And it was harder. It was a harder language for me to learn. Part of the difficulty was the order of words was all mixed up. Right? It's like Germans think backwards. If you look at it from the English point of view, they think in reverse almost. And the hardest part was listening comprehension, though. And so when after 2 to 3 months, I still wasn't really understanding what was going on, it forced me to devise a method to improve listening comprehension. I applied the method, and I suddenly improved my comprehension dramatically, really quickly. And then now it helped me to help other students, of course, when they're trying to learn Spanish. I can show them deliberately how to do it. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say a method, devised a method, just like a way of thinking about it, is that what you
No,
mean?
no. So when in terms of listening comprehension, what you want to do is you want to start with very simple material,
Okay.
right? So here's the method. Here's the method that I used for German and I've used to help others learn language, especially Spanish, like real quick,
Mhm.
listening comprehension. So you start with very basic material like cartoons, and
Okay.
cartoons that are so simple that even if you don't know what words what they're saying, you can figure out what they're saying by what the cartoons are doing.
Okay.
So, for example, I mean, there's a girl, a girl cartoon who's just gotten a new dress and she's smiling. You can kind of guess what she's saying. Those
Right.
kinds of cartoons.
Okay.
So you start out really easy, right? And you don't even need to spend that much time, half an hour, right? Half
Mhm.
an hour a day or 20 minutes a day, just watching the cartoons. It has to
Okay.
be interesting, so you're fully engaged.
Mhm.
So you do this every day, and you don't need to know subtitles, all of it in Spanish or whatever the target language is. You listen to it, you watch it in Spanish.
Mhm.
No subtitles, don't pause to look for the meaning of words in dictionaries, just watch. It's
Okay.
amazing, but your brain will start to figure it out. Without
Okay.
anybody telling you, you'll start to figure out what words mean.
Okay.
Over time, you know, oh, casa means house and
Mhm.
mujer means woman. Nobody will need to tell you this stuff.
Right. Right.
And when it becomes too easy and boring, you increase the difficulty. So pretty
Okay.
soon you go to teenager level material, and pretty soon you're watching the news or whatever you want. So this is a
Interesting.
natural progression that can go, that takes within 3 months, you'll
Hmm.
be able to follow most conversations, definitely. That's for the
Okay.
listening, right?
Right. Okay. That
But it
makes
doesn't
sense.
help you to speak. That's just listening.
Right. I was going to say that because I've had several people say, watch TV shows that are Spanish and watch them with English subtitles, but that helps you with listening. But I always think, well, listening is great, but I think a lot of us learn that first is the listening part. And then it's like, well, how to responding in Spanish adequately is always the challenge, I think. But I do think practicing and just doing it does help a lot. And you probably know more than you think you do, because if you just keep listening and listening and listening, after a while, you just certain words start to stick. But I do like some of those suggestions as well. I think that they definitely make sense. And I like the idea of starting with the really elementary uh, you know, cartoons. I could watch
Yeah,
cartoons. I'll be good with
yeah.
cartoons. So, all right, well, that sounds cool. So tell us like about I guess just kind of like what is your average turnaround for a client? Is it 3 months, 6 months as far as your program goes?
Yeah, yeah. So depending on how ambitious and willing they are to work, but
Hmm.
6 to 12 months is the normal range. Of course, if somebody is super ambitious and willing to spend 4 hours a day, then they can do it in 3 months. Most
Hmm.
people are not willing to do that, so it will take around 6 months, 6 months to a year. It all depends on the student and how much they're willing to do.
Okay. Okay. So is this like what your primary thing is, like helping coach people with not just Spanish, but any other language in case someone's watching and they want to learn French or something like that?
Yeah, so this is one of the things I do. But of course,
Mhm.
my career is in the area of chess. So I am a professional chess player.
Oh, that's right. I
Right,
forgot
right,
about
right.
that. We talked so
Yes,
much the
yes,
last time. There was a ton of info.
yes, yes.
Okay, that's also very interesting. So, I mean, yes, anyone can learn a language, but I think, you have a little edge going on over there. You have an edge, you have a little edge because you've been exposed. I do think that, being someone who grew up in the United States, we're very insulated in this regard. That's really the only language that we have constant exposure to is English. And I say that because, having traveled a lot as an adult, going to other countries, I was always so amazed by so many people having just ease with multiple languages, including English, their language, and maybe a surrounding country to wherever they lived. So I do think that it does help a lot to have kind of like that understanding of language. Do you know what I mean? Like you were speaking earlier about German kind of things being structured backwards or differently in a sentence. I do think that way when it comes to Spanish. There are lots of things in a sentence structure that happens to be the opposite of what it would be in English. You know, just the way things are said. I don't say that it's exactly the same as German, but there are lots of things that are said kind of opposite. So I think that a lot of times when people have a struggle as an, you know, native English speaker, and they have a struggle with Spanish, is because we're always trying to translate the sentence exact, and it just doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Do you run into that?
Yes, yes. So I mean, that usually comes, but eventually you develop confidence with the language. So, okay, so we talked about listening comprehension a bit. So nobody needs to really train you to listen. That's something you can do on your own. In fact, you can develop the listening skill independently of all other skills. So if somebody applied the method I just mentioned for listening, they'll be able to listen, but of course, they'll not be able to perform any of the other skills like speaking. So when it comes to speaking, what you want to do is, this is what people miss. So like people are actually afraid of speaking. That's the truth of the matter. I think some survey in the past said that people were more afraid of public speaking than death. Right? I think it was an American study or something like this. Right? So they'd rather die than speak. Right? So
I'd rather speak.
Yeah. So people
I'll
find
talk my
all
life
sorts
away.
of people find all sorts of excuses not to speak. Right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I need to learn all this grammar. I need to be prepared. I need to spend months listening. And it all sounds so logical, but those are all excuses to not speak and make mistakes.
Right.
So the best way to learn how to speak is to actually speak. But not just that. You want to speak and correct mistakes. That's very important. The two go hand in hand. So here's one activity that will dramatically improve speaking skill. You speak with a native, you have a conversation. In the conversation, you use no English, nothing but Spanish. If you get stuck while speaking, you can dance or draw a picture, but you cannot use, or if you want, go to Google Translate, enter the English word, and your mouth should only produce Spanish words though, right? For example. So you want to speak for maybe 20 minutes to half an hour, let's say.
Okay.
And then the next thing you want to do is you want to record that, obviously. You record the conversation, and then you go over it with a native speaker. And the native speaker corrects you by saying what you should have said instead, and then you try to say it. Right? Your mouth has to be accustomed to saying the language correctly. Your muscles need to learn it, right? So maybe you said soy feliz, for example. You said soy feliz, right? Which is wrong. Estoy feliz, right? I'm happy. Right? So you say soy feliz in your, let's say, recording. Then the native will be like, no, it's estoy feliz. And then you try and pronounce it back, estoy feliz.
Okay.
Right? So if you do this process of speaking, correcting mistakes and correcting them verbally, the more you do this, the better you get at speaking. Okay. And at the beginning, you'll have to translate. But if you do that in conjunction with other stuff, you reach a point where you don't need to translate at all. Like when I speak Spanish, I don't translate. I just speak. It's completely normal now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you still practice with native speakers, or, are you the native speaker?
Well, I'm not a native speaker of Spanish. I learned Spanish as an adult.
But you could pass as. I'm just saying, are you like really comfortable where you're just like, I'm good?
Yes, yeah, I'm very comfortable with the language, right? I've moved from the phase of learning the language to using it. Okay. So, for example, in part of my chess training requires me to work with coaches. So one of the coaches I worked with was from Cuba. He was Cuban, and we worked purely in Spanish. Okay. So we were working on chess, but in Spanish, right? Okay. And yeah, after just a few seconds of speaking, you even forget what language you're using, because the focus is the chess. The language is just a tool. Yeah. And it's amazing because there was a time when I couldn't say a single word. and I turned on the TV and couldn't understand anything.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, I write documents, analyze games in Spanish,
Wow.
listen to the coach's lectures in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely I mean, do speeches in Spanish.
It's easy.
I'm as comfortable
now.
using it as English, but of course my English is better than the Spanish. But
Okay.
I
Okay.
could do this interview in Spanish, for example, no problem.
Don't do that because my Spanish is not that good. Yeah, sí, mi español está bien, pero no es perfecto. So
No tanto.
no. So here's my struggle with Spanish is one, I have not applied myself. Two, I feel like I'm at a place where I know a lot. I know a lot more just from living here, picking it up, and things start to stick, as you said, listening. But I feel like I'm a little bit at a crossroads because it frustrates me. Like I am thoroughly annoyed with Spanish when people start writing me, which I get all the time. So they must understand something I'm saying because they just keep pouring it on and they will send me, okay, another silly pet peeve, but when people write me like one thought in 5 sentences, and I have to translate each of those 5 sentences. I'm like, okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what they're saying. So it's like, copy paste to bring it back. And then I'm just like, just send it to me in one chunk, please. Or when they send me an audio message, usually I understand because my listening, I think, has definitely improved. It's gotten better. But for the number of years that I have studied Spanish, yeah, I should be really great at it. So the point is right now I feel like I'm at a crossroad with the language. And that's because I feel overwhelmed with it sometimes. For example, when I went back to pass through the US and I went to St. Martin where everyone spoke English, I don't know, there was this sense of relief to not have that struggle throughout the day, all day, every day, 365 days a year, because I had not left Mexico for 2 years. So I was just like, whew, I could just say things and I don't have to, whatever. So the point simply is that some of the methods that you just spoke about, I think are going to be things that I'll start to incorporate. Although I found myself learning and understanding a lot more, I don't necessarily apply a disciplined amount of time every day or a few days, dedicated to that a week. I've sort of gone through it, just learning things by trial and error, even though I studied Spanish like you wouldn't even believe. I spent months in South America years ago, 20 hours a week, one-on-one with a Spanish-speaking teacher. I was in Ecuador, Chile, Argentina, and I thought, oh, I got this. And then when I went to Miami, Cuban Spanish, I couldn't understand. I was in Chile, I couldn't understand them because the dialect is very different. I think in Mexico and also in Ecuador, it's more pure. It's a more pure, and then Cubanos, forget about it. It's like just different. And then I got used to that. So now here I am back in Mexico, and I can say that it's definitely become easier, but not always easy. And sometimes it is very frustrating to the point where I'm not just for me, because I was just talking to a friend about this earlier, where it can be so much where you just are like, forget it, and we live in a place where people don't really have to speak Spanish. We should learn it. And I do make the effort when I'm out. People think I know Spanish great because, they probably know less than I do. And they're just like, oh, you sound great. I'm just like, I have no idea if it's correct or not, but they understand me. So I just kind of keep tumbling right on through it. But I like those principles. I really think that they will help improve the listening, but also then having someone correct me. That's the part that I don't have. Sometimes someone will say something to me, but a lot of times they just they know what I mean and they just continue with what they're saying. But I think if I make the conscious effort to ask, can you listen to this, or can you correct this? That would definitely help me untangle some of the way that I say things,
Oh yeah. That would definitely help. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to improve, you need to push yourself. So one of the things is like one strategy for improvement, very important psychologically, is what they call a death ground strategy. So the idea is to burn all the bridges. So it comes from a story from my favorite book, Think and Grow Rich, of this general who brings his army. They're going to fight an enemy who outnumbers them. And so they land on the beach, and the soldiers keep thinking, if the war goes badly, we can get back on the boats and head back to our homeland. So what the general does is he burns up the ships, all of them, right? And now he tells them, look, guys, we only have two options here. Either we win or we die, right? So with no escape strategy on death ground, the soldiers were inspired and they won. They defeated a stronger enemy, right?
Okay.
So the point of this is, when you put yourself in a position where you must use the language, you learn much faster.
True.
So this is one of the reasons why kids' psychology is well tuned for learning languages. The reason for that is they naturally feel inferior, right? Like a kid is completely helpless. Everybody's taller than him, stronger than him, has more money, they understand more. So he's in an inferior position. And so he has no option. If he wants to survive, he has to figure out what's going on.
True.
Right. And this state of kind of having no option but to figure it out makes them learn really fast. Right. So if I have an option if I'm with somebody and I know I could speak to them in English or I could speak to them in Spanish, and I always have that option. And I know that even if I don't learn Spanish well, I can get by.
Right.
That cripples the mind. It stops it from learning really fast.
Right.
But you can overcome that tendency by putting yourself on death ground.
Right.
Like simple ways. Okay, I'm having this 1 hour conversation with the native, no English. Or better yet, I'm going to pick a native who doesn't know any English. So even if I wanted to, he'd not understand what I'm saying.
Right.
When you do that consistently, it's amazing how sharp your brain gets. Yeah. The brain rises to the occasion.
I believe that because last December, I got my guest house, and I had just people who only spoke Spanish doing work, like the contractor guys, and literally within a month, there was just so much more conversation happening between us. One of them, he kind of knew English, but he always said everything in Spanish, and then I would like do Spanglish, and then my little bit of Spanish or whatever. My point is I remember having to communicate with him, or the two of them, the people that were doing like the yard work. One of the gentlemen that does the yard work, I mean, he was like that Campo Spanish. I could not understand. He was talking so fast, and literally within a few weeks to a month, I started to understand him as well. And I realized, I'm dealing with, like, I recognized that there was even a dialect within this, meaning, they're speaking a little differently than someone who's just right down the street from me. And even though they're only 20 minutes outside, I could tell there was a difference in the way they would say things. And my housekeeper and her husband the same. I had a hard time. And she and I are funny because she's very sharp. I could tell she's just she's a very sharp lady. And she would just take her time, and she would stop, and I could see her thinking, how else can I say this to Michelle in Spanish that she'll understand what I'm saying? And she would, say something else, and I'll be like, oh, okay, so it's kind of funny to listen to us talking. But within those 2 months, I realized that I was able to say a lot more back to them than I had been prior to that. Just like you said, doing or dying, being in those situations. And it was the same when I traveled, like I said, years and years ago, back in, I think, 05 or 06, I spent a lot of months down in South America, and I didn't have a choice. It was like, that's it, Spanish. No one speaks English. And I was able to learn a lot more, but I did have a hard time when I switched countries because it just sounded so completely different, and I didn't understand. I could read the menu, but I couldn't understand really what they were saying because there's certain things they pronounce differently in Chile as opposed to Ecuador or even Argentina. So yeah, and Mexico, same.
That's
I'm used to
correct.
this
Yeah,
now.
you're right. They have dialects. They
Yeah.
have dialects. Yeah, it will take like a while, depending on how proficient you are, a while to adapt to the dialect. But eventually, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Just yes, basically, your mind is your friend, even though most of the time it feels like it's not, but it is your friend. So
Mhm.
it wants you to succeed, but you
Right.
have to tell it what you want, right? So your level of seriousness determines how serious it's gonna be,
That's true.
right? If you make it absolutely important to learn and you can't accept anything but learning, the
Mhm.
brain will learn, right?
Okay.
And but it's not. But your mind is naturally lazy. Like the entire a human being in general is lazy.
Mhm.
The brain is lazy. The body is lazy. They don't want
Mhm.
to put in more effort than is necessary,
Right.
right? For example, there's no reason why your biceps should just start growing. That takes too much energy. But if you require it by lifting weights, it's like, okay, I gotta adapt. Now it grows the muscle. But
True.
on its own, by its own, it's lazy. It's just gonna grow fat. That's all. Right? Your
Right.
brain is actually too. Why put in the effort to understand all this vocabulary and grammar when I don't have to?
True.
Right? Right.
True.
So part of the reason why people don't learn is because they don't tell the mind that it has to. But if you make it clear, I have to do this, I must do this, so that's the psychology part. And I said,
Mhm.
like I was saying before, most people think it's 90% technique, 10% mentality.
Mhm.
And that's why they never improve. It's the opposite.
Right.
90% mentality, 10% technique.
Yeah, I believe that. I
Yeah.
believe that. I think a lot of just things in life in general, that if you don't believe that you can do whatever it is, then you probably won't do it, right? You just have to
Yeah.
have faith. I mean, I think a lot of us have had those examples, but maybe we don't take them that seriously. And, we might look at other people and think, oh, they did da da da, they had da da da. But a lot of times, other people just have a different mentality towards whatever the struggle or challenge might be. So, saying that, yes, I definitely need to push my fatty muscle a little bit more up here,
Yeah.
my blob. So, no, I think that that's an excellent approach to it. So like, what is the start of like one of your programs look like? Is it like a once a week coaching, or are you,
Yeah. So,
setting up personalized schedules? And do you have group sessions by any chance? I don't know that would make
well,
sense, but
most of my sessions are one-on-one. I like to work with because everybody is different and they
mhm.
have different weaknesses, especially
Okay.
technical weaknesses, but mostly psychological weaknesses are different.
Mhm, mhm.
So typically, what I'll do is I'll meet with them once or twice a week
Okay.
to discuss their progress. And
Mhm.
usually, I have an app. I usually use WhatsApp a lot with my guys.
Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me? I think you're breaking up.
I
Hope you
can
can
hear
hear me.
you.
Right.
I can hear
Yeah.
you.
So typically, I connect on WhatsApp with my clients.
Mhm.
So what we do is there are certain questions I ask them and they're supposed to respond daily. So we work
Okay.
on their mindset daily, but it's just back and forth messages, typically
Okay.
audio. But
Okay.
then once a week or twice a week, we'll meet and then we'll work on specifically helping them to improve the technical aspects of the language. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but yes,
Go ahead.
but the entire thing is designed so that uh, by the end of within six months to a year, they are
Mhm.
completely comfortable in the language.
Okay. So are your program, or is your program set up on a monthly 6-month package? Like what does that look
Yes,
like?
yes. So it's six to 12 month packages typically,
Okay.
because yeah. So uh, I mean, people don't work with me for the time they spend with me. They work with me for the result.
Okay.
So, and the result takes time, right? It's not going to happen in a month, but 6 months, yes. A year, definitely.
Okay.
So.
And do you do like a discovery call, or do you just, this is what I do and let's just get started? How's that
Yeah,
work?
so for example, basically I have to determine the level of seriousness of a person.
Mhm.
So how committed they are, because that's very important, how committed they are to succeed,
Mhm.
right? So typically what I'll do is I'll chat with people, right? So for example, I'm offering an opportunity for members of the audience. So it's a free 30-minute accelerated fluency coaching session.
Okay.
So we'll meet for 30 minutes to 40 minutes one-on-one, and
Okay.
we'll identify exactly what your goals are in language learning. We'll identify what the hidden challenges are, what is
Okay.
stopping you from becoming fluent, and there's some hidden challenges you don't know about. And usually they leave the session renewed, re-energized, and inspired to finally become fluent.
Okay.
So this is like just a free call we do for 30 to 40 minutes. And if they're really serious about learning, then we figure out a way to work towards the result of fluency on a longer term basis.
Okay. And just like, are you like, how does the time difference work? Because I have no idea what time it is or day it is for you.
Yeah.
And the
Well, yeah,
Congo,
actually, so
but
yeah, I guess before I do the time difference, yeah, I want to say that unfortunately, I'm quite busy. So only the first 7 people to reach out to me, I'll be able to have time to talk to those.
okay.
But yeah, otherwise, it just takes up a lot of my time and energy. It's incredibly
Okay.
hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do chess?
So
I'm assuming you do chess online.
yes,
Yeah.
chess online, absolutely. Yes, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're talking about time zones, yeah. But typically, the cool thing is we can always find times that work for both parties. I've worked
Okay.
with people in different parts, people in Europe, people in Africa, people in the United States, South America. We always find a time that works. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So just out of curiosity sake, today is Tuesday, September 6th. What day is it for you?
It's also Tuesday, September 6th.
Oh,
Yeah,
what
5:48
time?
p.m. though. My day is ending,
Oh,
yours is starting. Yeah.
5:40. So you're not that, it's not a big time difference because it's 10:48 in
The
the morning
difference
here.
is I'm 7 hours ahead of you.
That's it. Okay. I thought maybe you were into the next time, like day or something. I know that that's the case in Asia, but okay,
Yeah.
that's not a big difference. Okay, so that would not be an issue at all. Okay, so and Len, if you could share your email address with us, and this is
Oh
the
yeah,
way
yeah.
that you would
So
get
yeah,
in touch with
the best way to reach out to me is via email.
me.
So it's modjaiso@gmail.com, which is MODJAISO @gmail.com, right?
Okay,
So maybe in the title, just say Spanish fluency coaching session, so I can know what it's about.
okay. I'll add it in the description. It'll be in the description as well.
Description, okay,
Yeah,
that's
I'll make
excellent.
sure I put it up and yeah, just put it out there. Everyone can reach out to you directly about your program. And I always love speaking to you. I think it's super interesting that you can speak 8 languages, probably 9 at this point with German, maybe you lost count. The point is that it's doable. And I think that your techniques and approach, it's motivating, because it's nice to know that it's possible to do this and learn it within a 3-month or 6-month time frame with some of these principles, as you mentioned. I do think it's important, and I try to promote this to have anyone that's planning to live in a Spanish-speaking country or any country that you plan to live in, if they speak a different language than yours, to learn the language if you can, apply yourself to that. Really helps. I think it really helps you understand the culture and the people that you are living around. I know some people are resistant to that, but I think a lot of it is for some of the reasons that you mentioned, that they're uncomfortable to say or to speak, because I get that a lot from newcomers, that they're uncomfortable saying things because they're not sure if they're saying it right. And I always just say, you know what, it doesn't matter, because I think most people are pretty forgiving and they will actually help you or try to understand what you're saying. And it's always one of those things that I learned from a teacher was learn the language like a child. Like a child is not concerned with how they sound, or if the sentence structure is wrong, they just say, or they say one word, right? And they,
Yeah.
I'm hungry, they're just like, oh, I'm hungry, food, so it's kind of one of those things where you have to kind of, shed that layer of being embarrassed, I guess, and just
Correct.
start. And like you said, surround yourself with people who obviously know you don't speak Spanish well, but are willing to kind of jump in and correct you in a gentle way.
Correct.
But I find that here, most people are pretty forgiving of you not understanding or saying everything, and they will actually help you through things. So yeah, today's lesson is just give it a shot, try and sign up for his program. I may have to consider this because I like the principles. I think that everyone has a different style of learning, a different way of learning, a different kind of like chemistry they may connect with. This just feels like something that would be more doable for me. Even watching, childish kind of cartoons where you're starting at an elementary level and then working your way up, like you said earlier. I've always dived into watching Spanish things that were like, an adult movie. And I'm just like, I can't do this.
It's too
And I say, because
complicated.
it is complicated and I'm not interested. And my brain just shuts down and I just switch it over to whatever. However, I never thought about watching a cartoon. I've not sat down. So I do think that that's a great approach. So yeah, thank you for that. So once again, thank you so much for being here. Anything else you want to add before
Well,
we?
no, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have been here and to have been able to serve the audience. It's always fun talking to you. Really fun to talk to.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Likewise.
yeah, just it's doable. It doesn't take years to become fluent, especially not in Spanish. You can
Right.
do it. I want the guys who are watching to remember this. They
I
can do
love
it.
it. Awesome. So before we go, I wanted to ask you, because obviously I'm all about expat life. What's it like in the Congo for expats? Or do you have a lot of like, is there an expat community there? Just curious.
Oh yeah, there's an expert community. So remember, Congo is a mineral-rich country. Yeah, so pretty much any mineral you can think of, we probably have it. We've
Okay.
got diamond, we've got gold, we've got coltan.
Mhm.
Coltan is like a special kind of metal that's needed for mobile phones. So
Interesting.
pretty much all your devices use coltan from here, right?
Okay.
So this is a place that's an attraction for business people, experts who are business people,
Mhm.
but also some people just have to live here for multiple reasons. We have like a lot of Chinese here doing business and so on, but
They're
we have
everywhere.
people. Yes, 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 exactly, and very prosperous too. They have a good
Mhm.
mindset for business.
Mhm.
So yeah, we have a lot of experts here.
Mhm.
Um, and some of them come to work with international organizations.
Okay.
Like my neighbor is from Ivory Coast,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, he works with the UN here. So yeah, it's a great place. You just have to be careful where you go, but most of the places are good. The capital city is good, and
Mhm.
other places maybe to the east. So you want to stay away from the east, but yes,
Okay.
I love it here because the family is here.
Right.
So I have a huge family too.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's special. I love it. I
My
think,
grandfather was polygamous, so
oh, okay. So you have a real big family.
hundreds of cousins, I think.
Whoa. Okay, we won't even get into all of that. That's for another episode. Hey, Pops. Real interesting. So, what's the population there? Like, what's the
Oh, I
population in
actually
the
don't
country?
know. No clue. I
Okay.
should know this, right? This is terrible for a citizen not to know. I have
Well,
no idea.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious, because I don't know a lot about African countries, but as I said to you earlier
Hmm.
before we started to record, for some reason the Congo always sounded pretty interesting. I probably got that from watching a movie somewhere along the way. But yeah, just kind of curious about that.
I don't know how many people they are, but it's definitely not crowded.
No?
So we have
No.
it's a big country. We have like a lot of space.
Okay. And what do
So
you
that's
board?
what
What?
makes it, yeah?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's what makes it ideal, for example, for purchasing land. right? So we have lots of space, so you can buy like huge chunks of land that you'd never be able to buy anywhere else.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
what was I going to ask you? What countries does that border with? I could obviously pull up a map, but
yeah, we have Angola, Angola to the southwest. Angola, people in Angola speak Portuguese. Yeah, we border with Rwanda, we border with Sudan, Kenya, Uganda. No, not Kenya, sorry. Uganda, not Kenya. We don't border with Kenya, but we border with Uganda as well.
Okay.
And there's also a smaller Congo called Congo Brazzaville. We also border with that. And I think to the north we have Chad as well. So it's a big country. I think we border maybe 7 or 8 countries. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, in case someone wants to move to the Congo.
Oh, and Cameroon as well.
Cameroon, we can contact him for more details. No, people are moving to African countries a lot. And a lot of times they're doing so because they want to be around, more Blacks, which I totally understand that as well. And I think having someone that's there that can really give you proper information, like we were speaking earlier, and you said that it's kind of not safe according to CNN, but I'm like, is it really not safe? Like really and truly, would it not be safe if someone wanted to really live there and buy land and, become a part of the community or whatever? Just kind of curious about that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again so much for being here. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to have all of his information down below. If you really want to learn another language, this is a great program to do so. I love the principles. I'm happy we spoke again. I'll also connect the link from our last conversation, which I feel went on for at least 2 hours. I don't remember. It was a while. We were talking about like chess. We were talking about all the different languages. I think you even gave, you did. You gave me a few words and all the languages that you knew. We should have done that this time, but no, we'll give them incentive to watch the other one. But I appreciate you reaching back out to me again. And I hope that anyone in the audience, will jump on and take advantage of the first 7 people that contact him. He'll give you a discovery call, 30 minutes to see what progress you're trying to make and to help you integrate better with the language. But even if you've already, moved abroad or planning to move abroad, I think this is a great endeavor and a great way to do so. I think it's important to just get to know where it is that you're living in a Spanish-speaking country or any other country, because I'm sure this applies to French and some of the other languages that you can teach them. So thank you.
All right. Thanks
Bye,
a lot.
my friend. Have a good day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.